This is Swathi, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering in Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Dundigal. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we'll discuss about outcome-based education and the course description related to analog and digital electronics course. So that is how the outcome-based education helps, and also how the course outcomes, objectives and are formed, and how these are assessed in outcome-based education. We'll discuss in this. So, the contents for this lecture are outcome-based education, how it is different from traditional education, and what is the course overview of analog and digital electronics, what are the course objectives, and program educational objectives, course outcomes, program specific outcomes, and all. These are all the topics that are going to be discussed in this. So first of all, let us see what is outcome-based education. So outcome-based education, or the OBE, is an educational theory that bases each part of an educational system around goals. By that means the outcome-based education is goal-based. That means it will be concentrating more on outcomes. By the end of the educational experience, each student should have achieved the goal. There is no single specified style of teaching or assessment in OBE. There are various ways of teaching in outcome-based education, and even the outcomes are assessed in different way in outcome-based education. Whereas in case of traditional education, there is a standard procedure of teaching and also even assessing. That is, evaluation process is also standard. So instead, classes, opportunities and assessments should all help students to achieve the specified outcomes. The role of the faculty adopts into instructor, trainer, facilitator and or mentor based on the outcomes targeted. That means that the role of teacher or else faculty is not restricted to or not only teaching. It can also vary between different roles like instructor, trainer, facilitator and mentor based on the outcomes targeted. The outcome-based education is a student-centric teaching and learning methodology in which the course delivery, assessment are planned to achieve stated objectives and outcomes. It focuses measuring the student performance, that is, the outcomes at different levels. And OBE is all about feedback and outcomes. That is, outcome-based education is all about feedback and outcomes. Why outcome-based education is preferred nowadays? So, international recognition and global employment opportunities are available based on the outcome-based education. So, most of the institutions are now concentrating on outcome-based education. And due to this outcome-based education, there is more employability and innovative graduates with professional and soft skills, social responsibility and ethics are coming out. So better visibility and reputation of the technical institutions among stakeholders. The stakeholders are our students. So improving the commitment and involvement of all the stakeholders is possible in outcome-based education. Enabling graduates to excel in their profession and accomplish greater heights in their careers. So with the help of outcome-based education, the student can have very good soft skills and even very good ethics, and even the communication skills can be improved, and even they can think innovatively so that they can accomplish greater heights in their career. Preparing the graduates for the leadership positions and challenging them and making them aware of opportunities in recent technological trends. So benefits of OBE for faculty members. What are the benefits that are found in OBE, that is outcome based education, with for the faculty? So the faculty members are referred to as change of agents in OBE. Teaching will become a far more effective and innovative career. So with by OBE, so the faculty will be very much interested towards their career, and they will be thinking more innovative. And faculty members will no longer feel the pressure of having to be the source of knowledge. The faculty members shape the thinking and vision of students towards a course. These are the benefits that can be uh, achieved by the faculty members. And majorly, what are the major differences between the traditional education and outcome based education? So, the traditional based education, the assessment is based on grades or ranks. Whereas in outcome based education, the desired outcome based assessment is done. That means if the goals of students are achieved, then the assessment, that means the assessment is mainly based on the outcomes. The grades are derived from the points on activities, assignments, exams in case of traditional educational system, whereas the completion of education implies the learner has achieved set goals or not. The outcome based education, completion of education implies the learner has achieved set goals. That means before they are entering into the course, they will be setting some goals. Whether they are achieving the goals or not, that are going to be assessed by the outcome based education. In case of traditional educational system, the judgment methods are shaped from previous results, whereas the judgment methods in outcome based education are shaped from continuous evaluation. So continuously we will be improving our educational process such that there is some improvement in the student goals achievement. Only the assessment is only summative in case of traditional educational system, whereas it is formative assessment. That means the assessment is both formative and summative in case of outcome based education. No assess feedback improve loop. So we doesn't have any assessment feedback loop in order to improve the quality of education in case of traditional educational system. Whereas in outcome based education, there exists a feedback, that is assess feedback improve loop. That means always we need to assess, take the feedback, and we need to improve. This is a loop like structure which is existing in outcome based education, so that the quality of teaching and learning process will be improved. So what is the framework of outcome based education? So this is the framework of outcome based education. So basically, all the institutions will take some inputs from the stakeholders, and based on which the vision and mission of the institution will be set. And then the program educational objectives. What are the major program educational objectives that are also be set by the institutional level? And the program outcomes. So the program outcomes are different for each and every branch, like for electronics and and even for computers and IIT, all are different, and these are formed by again the institutional level. And course outcomes. So here program outcomes are common. These are defined by the NBA, whereas we have program specific outcomes. These are different for each and every department, that is branch, and these are set by the department advisory committee, and these PSOs are defined at the department level. And then course outcomes. So again, the program includes various courses. For each course, the course handling faculty along with the expert team will be finalizing the outcomes. The outcomes are finalized based on, and once the outcomes are finalized, the syllabus and the teaching methods learning activities, and what are the various assessment tools that whether the outcomes are achieved or not are framed. And then the course assessment is done. So it is done in the direct method and as well as in the indirect method. So the direct method of assessment will be concentrating more on internal examinations and also the external examinations, whereas indirect, the assessment is done by taking feedback from the stakeholders and even from the graduates and parents. So these are they all are the stakeholders. So by collecting the feedback from various stakeholders, the indirect assessment will be done. So based on this assessment, the entire program assessment will be done, either it is a BTech program or MTech program. And finally, based on the outcomes achievement on from the different programs, so the institutional assessment is done. So if there is any improvements ought to be done, so we will be continuously doing some improvements. And again, that means we will be continuously taking the feedback, and based on that, continuous improvement is done, based on which, again, the program educational objectives, program outcomes, and course outcomes are going to be refined such that the outcome, that means a quality outcome based education, is obtained. So this is the framework. So this is nothing but a loop structure. Every time there is continuous improvement done in the program educational objectives, program outcomes, and course outcomes. Now, what is program educational objectives? First of all, program educational objectives are broad statements that describe career and professional accomplishments that the program is preparing graduates to achieve within the 3 to 5 years after graduation. So at the College of Engineering, PEOs are specific to each program. So what is program outcome? So the program outcomes or student outcomes are narrower statements that describe what the students are expected to know and be able to do by the time of graduation. What the student will be able to do after the completion of his graduation. So these relate to the knowledge, that is cognitive level, skills, that is psychomotor, and behavior effective that the student acquire through the program. At the College of Engineering, the POs are specific to the program. So these programs, POs are also specific to the program. That means program is nothing but either it is a BTech, that is a UG, or PG. Now, course outcomes. What do you mean by course outcomes? The course outcomes are the statements that describes the knowledge or skills of the students should acquire by the end of a particular assignment, class, course, or program, and helps the students to understand why that knowledge and those skills will be helpful to them. So that means what is the knowledge he is going to acquire and how this knowledge is helpful to achieve his goals. So these are defined by the course outcomes. So these are the elements of technical or soft skills that each student must have to complete his graduation. The CO is designed to support and to be measurable against POs. CO is very specific to the individual course. That means all the COs should be framed for each individual course by the faculty. So now we have two types of assessment I told you, that is direct assessment and indirect assessment. What is direct assessment? A professional makes a decision regarding what a student learned and how well it was learned. So that is done by the direct assessment. So the direct assessment examples, how the assessment is done directly. Example, faculty evaluated papers, test, or performances. So the performances means even we can have some tech talk, that is technical talks, that is presentations, and even concept videos are also included here. Now, indirect assessment. So the student decides what he or she learned and how well it was learned. So the student itself decides what he or she learned and how well it was learned by the student. So the examples are survey and teaching evaluation. So that means survey or exit survey feedback will be taking from the graduates and even feedback from the parents. So like that, we will be taking some surveys from the stakeholders. So from that, we can the students can assess the quality of teaching and how well they have learned the concepts, and even teaching evaluation. Teaching evaluation is nothing but we'll be taking feedbacks here. So as I told you that outcome based education is all about feedback and assessment. So feedbacks will be coming under teaching evaluation. So taking the feedback from the students, how the teaching is being done in the classroom. So that includes indirect assessment. And formative assessments refers to a wide variety of methods that teacher used to conduct in process of evaluation of student comprehension, learning needs, and academic progress during a lesson or unit or course. So this is that, as I told you that the assessment in outcome based education is both formative and summative. So this is the meaning of formative assessment. So the student will be a wide variety of methods that teachers use it to conduct in process. While teaching, the teacher can use various types of methods of teaching like PPT presentation and video lectures. Like that, we can have various modes of presentation. So even the students can assess them. So that is formative assessment is for learning, and summative assessment are of learning too. So what is the major difference between formative and summative assessment? So the formative assessment helps students to learn and practice, and summative assessment assess student performance. So where this formative assessment helps the student, whereas the summative assessment to assess the student performance, we will be going for summative assessment. And what is the formative assessment? So when it is done throughout the course. So throughout the course, entire duration of course, we will be taking the formative assessment. We will be going for the formative assessment, and why it is needed in order to identify the gaps and the improvements needed to be made or else needed to be done for the course. So that is why we are going for the formative assessment. And how? Through the approaches that support specific student needs, we can do the formative assessment. What about the summative assessment? When we can do the summative assessment? The summative assessment can be done at the end of the instructional period of a course, and it is why it is done. So to collect the evidence of the student's knowledge and skill of or proficiency of the student in that particular course, we will be taking the summative assessment. This is to assess the student performance. And how can we go for this summative assessment? How can we do the summative assessment? Through the exit learning products or cumulative assessment, we can do this summative assessment. So, and we have to remember that formative assessment is to help the students to learn and practice in order to make in order to bridge the gaps between the courses, in order to improve the learning of students. And the summative assessment is to assess the student performance, and this is done by these various ways. Now, graduate attributes. What do you mean by graduate attributes? So, the graduate attributes are the set of generic knowledge, skills, and attitudes considered essential for all graduate engineers of 21st century. So, these are all the essential attributes that a graduate engineer must have in order to meet the 21st century requirements. That means so many technological developments are being done. So we have a responsibility to train the students in order to go through that, in order to upskill their in order to upgrade their skills. So all the graduate engineers are expected to demonstrate these attributes on completion of their degrees. They must be able to demonstrate these graduate attributes. And you have to remember this, the graduate attributes are given by the National Board of Accreditation. The institution who can ensure these attributes in their fresh graduates may be accredited. It provides the means for establishing substantial equivalence of degrees. The important aspects that we come across in outcome-based education. What are that? So let us see what is a course. Course is defined as theory or practical or theory cum practical subjects studied in a semester or said to be course. That means it may be a theory or a practical, or it may be a combination of theory and practical. So that is a course. What do you mean by course outcomes? So just now we have seen course outcome. So the course outcomes are formal statement of what students are expected to learn in a course. By studying a particular course, what the student will be able to learn is nothing but course outcome. When creating the course outcomes, we have to remember that the outcome should clearly state what the student will do or produce to determine and or demonstrate their learning. So we should state the course outcome such that the student should be easily demonstrating what they will do or produce after learning this course. The course learning outcome statements refers to specific knowledge, practical skills, areas of professional development attitudes, a higher order thinking skills, etc. So we do have some more outcomes like course learning outcomes. So these course learning outcomes are concentrating more on practical skills, areas of professional development and higher order thinking levels. And now, how can we define a program? Program is defined as specialization or discipline of a degree. So like program, BTech program, we have various, under BTech, we have various programs like electronics, computers, that is CSE, IT, EEE. So these are all the different programs. It is a specialization or discipline of a degree. It is the interconnected arrangement of course, co-curricular and extracurricular activities to accomplish predetermined objectives leading to the awarding of a degree. That is example, either it may be that BTech or MTech. So like that, program is a connected arrangement of not only courses he has to study, he has to undergo through some co-curricular and extracurricular activities in order to improve their professional skills like communication skills, and even he has to mingle with all the groups. So like that, all these extracurricular activities will be or will also be included in the program. In order to award a degree, not only studying the courses, he also has to participate in co-curricular and extracurricular activities. It is a part of it, awarding a degree. Program outcomes. A program learning outcome is a board in a scope and be able to do at the end of the program. At the end of the program, that means after completing his BTech, what the student will be able to do. POs are to be in line with the graduate attributes as specified by the Washington Accord. So these graduate attributes are specified by Washington Accord. POs are to be specific, measurable and achievable. So POs should not be immeasurable. These should be measurable and achievable. NBA has defined 12 POs and we need to define those POs by yourself, and it is common for all the institutions in India. So the program educational objectives. So that means the program outcomes are defined by the NBE and these are all common to the all institutions of India. And we are going to define some program specific outcomes for each and every program in the institution. Program educational objectives. These should be defined by the head of the department and in consultation with the faculty members. So for each and every program, we will have the head of the department. So they will be framing the program educational objectives in consultation with the faculty. The PEOs are promised by the department to the aspiring students about what they will achieve once they join that particular program. So PEOs are about professional and career accomplishment after 4 to 5 years of graduation. So PEOs can be written in different perspectives like career, technical, competency and behavior. And the most commonly, that means 3 to 5 PEOs are recommended for each and every program. Program specific outcomes. So program specific outcomes are what students should be able to do at the time of graduation with reference to a specific discipline. Usually there are 2 to 4 PSOs for a program. So in the area of their graduation, what the students are going to acquire knowledge in a specific discipline. So these are about this is about program specific outcomes, and usually we'll have 2 to 4 program specific outcomes for each and every program. So as I told you that we have 12 program outcomes which are defined by the NBA. So this is a list of 12 program outcomes. The first one is engineering knowledge. So apply the knowledge of mathematics, science, engineering fundamentals and an engineering specialization to the solution of complex engineering problems. So it deals with the application of knowledge, mathematics and science in the solution to find the solutions of complex engineering problems. And the second one is problem analysis, how they can identify and formulate a problem and how can they do the research on it to find the solution by applying the basic mathematical principles and sciences. And design and development of solutions. So design solutions for complex engineering problems. So first PO is related to the basic knowledge. Second PO is identifying the problem. And the third one is after identifying by the application of mathematical principles and all, they will be able to design or develop a solution to that complex problem. Conduct investigations of complex problems. So use research-based knowledge in order to identify some faults and drawbacks and advantages of complex engineering problems after developing a solution. Modern tool usage. In order to develop, we can use modern tools. Okay, like in various disciplines, we have various tools. So we can use them in order to develop the solution for complex engineering problems. And the sixth one is the engineer and society. So apply reasoning informed by the contextual knowledge to assess societal, health, safety, legal and cultural issues and the consequent responsibilities relevant to the professional engineering practice. The seventh one is environment and sustainability. Ethics. While designing a solution for complex problems, we need to follow some ethics. So this PO deals with the ethics also. And individual and teamwork. So by this, we will be habituating the students to work individually as well as a team. Communication. With this, we are going to assess how the students can communicate effectively. And project management and finance. So this is the 11th one. And the 12th one is lifelong learning. So how can they inculcate lifelong learning process in their chosen specific area or else discipline. So these are the POs given by the NBA. Relationship of course outcomes to the program outcomes. How the course outcomes are related to the program outcomes. So while framing the program outcomes, we should follow a formula. That formula is students should be able to plus what is the behavior of that outcome. What the students are going to learn by that behavior. And by learning that, what is the resulting evidence? What is the use of that outcome? What is the use of that course outcome? What he will be able to do after studying that? So this is the formula. Student should be able to plus behavior plus resulting evidence. So for example, we can see, I will show you some course outcomes where we can see the behavior and resulting evidence. And upon the completion of the course, student will be able to knowledge, concept, rule or skill you accept them to acquire. By how will they apply the knowledge? So that means by studying that particular concept, what they will acquire. And after acquiring that, what they can do. So that is what course outcome tells us. So this course provides the basic knowledge over the construction of functionality of basic electronic devices such as diodes and transistors. So now, first of all, for any course, the overview should be formed. So this is the overview of the course, that is our analog and digital electronic course. So this course provides a basic knowledge over the construction and functionality of basic electronic devices such as diodes and transistors. It also provides the information about the uncontrollable and controllable electronic switches and the flow of current through these switches in different biasing conditions, and also make them to learn the basic theory of switching circuits and their applications in specified relationship between signals at the input and the output terminals. So this course mainly deals with electronic devices such as diodes and transistor. Not only that, it also provides the discussion on the current flow in basic devices like diodes and transistor, and how the switching action can be taken place in these diodes, and how the input and output signals are related. They will be able to design combinational and sequential logic circuits in detail, and starting from a problem statement, they will learn to design circuits of logic gates. They will also learn to design complex logic circuits like counters, adders, and sequence detectors like that. So by studying this circuit, they will be able to implement or else design various digital circuits. Not only digital circuit, even they can also design analog circuits like amplifiers. Okay, so oscillators. Actually, oscillators is also an electronic circuit. So like that, by studying this course, they will be able to design and implement either combinational or sequential logic circuit. This comes under digital part, and even they can understand the operation of basic semiconductor devices like diodes and transistor, and the applications of that basic semiconductor devices also they can understand. So alternative assessment tool. So what is the alternative assessment tool that is followed? So AAT enables faculty to design own assessment patterns during the CIA, that is continuous internal assessment. So the AAT converts the classroom into effective learning center. The AAT may include tutorial hours or classes, seminars, assignments, term paper, open-ended experiments, and METE, that is modeling and experimental tools in engineering. 5 minutes videos. So we do take 5 minutes videos, that is tech talk or concept videos. And MOOCs, we encourage the students to complete some MOOC courses. The AAT chosen for this course is given in table. So the course for our course, that is analog and digital electronics, the AATs we are going to consider are 5 minutes video, that is 20%, assignment 30%, tech talk, that is technical talk 30%, seminar 10%, open-ended experiment 10%. So these are the assessment tools that we are considering for the course of analog and digital electronics. Now let us see what are the course objectives framed for the analog and digital electronics course. So course objectives, the student will try to learn the fundamental knowledge of the operational principles and characteristics of semiconductor devices and their applications. Students will try to learn the basic concept of number systems, Boolean algebra, and optimized implementation of combinational and sequential logic circuits. So students will also be trying to learn the perceived subsequent studies in the area of microprocessors, microcontrollers, VLSI design, and embedded systems effectively, use of fundamentals of digital electronics. So that means these are related to the course. That means this course majorly includes analog electronics as well as digital electronics. By studying this, they can pursue their subsequent studies in the areas of microprocessor, microcontroller, VLSI design, and embedded systems effectively. So these are the course objectives. Now coming to the course outcomes. So we have various levels of Bloom's taxonomy, so that we will be discussing now. So based on that, we have framed 12 COs, that is course outcomes here. So as we all know the definition of course outcomes, so these are the statements which is telling what the student will be able to do after the completion of that course. CO1, recall the properties of semiconductor material which form the basis for the formation of PN junction diode. So we will be recalling the concepts of semiconducting material for the formation of PN junction diode. By using them, we are going to construct a PN junction diode, how it operates. So this is the they will be able to recall what they are going to recall. They are going to recall the concepts of semiconducting material. Why they are studying? In order to understand the formation of PN junction diode. So this is the resulting evidence. Now the second one, illustrate the volt ampere characteristics of semiconductor devices for finding cut-in voltage, resistance and capacitance. So these cut-in voltage, resistance and capacitance are characteristic parameters of diode. So in order to calculate this, we are going to illustrate the voltage ampere characteristics. We are going to draw the voltage ampere characteristics of PN junction diode. Now apply the PN junction diode characteristics for the diode applications such as switch and rectifiers. So he will these are all the first CO is remember level, just we are recalling, so that comes under remember level of taxonomy. And the next one is understand. We are just understanding the voltage ampere characteristics. From that we are going to calculate various parameters and apply the PN junction diode characteristics in order to design the rectifier and switches. So explain half wave and full wave rectifiers circuits with filter and without filters for the conversion of alternating currents into direct currents. So by this outcome, so what we are going to tell is they are going to study half wave rectifier and full wave rectifier with and without filter. And what is the application of this rectifier? In order to convert the AC into DC. So that is a major application. So this conversion of AC into DC is our resulting evidence. So this is also understand level. And interpret DC and AC load line analysis of different amplifiers for the optimal operating level regardless of input load placed on the device. So what is the effect of load placed on the device on the operating point? So that is what can be understood by the DC and AC load line analysis of PN junction diode. Analysis of input and output characteristics of transistor configuration and small signal H parameter models for determining the input-output resistance, current gain, and voltage gain. So, these are the characteristics of any amplifier, so which can be calculated from the input and output characteristics of that transistor. And in order to analyze, in order to use this, in order to calculate this, we will be using H parameters. So, ultimate aim is in order to calculate various characteristic parameters of amplifiers. Using what? Using H parameter model. So, this is analyze level. CO7. Compare the binary, decimal, octal and hexadecimal number systems in terms of basic arithmetic operations. So, we are going to compare the decimal, octal, hexadecimal number systems. What is the difference between various number systems? Why we are going to use various number systems? What is the application of this? So, we will be studying in this. Identify the functionality of logic gates, parity code, Hamming code techniques for the error detection and correction of single bit in digital systems. So, what is the use of error detection and correction? How the error detection and correction codes are applied in real time. Okay, so that is what learned in by this CO. So, next CO9, apply Boolean postulates and theorems, K-map and tabular methods for obtaining the minimized Boolean expressions. So, what is the importance of minimization? What are the various techniques for minimizing the Boolean function? And what is the resulting evidence? So, why we are going for the simplification? What happens if I simplify the Boolean expression? So, that is what can be understood by this CO. Develop a gate level combinational circuit to build adder, subtractor, multiplexer, demultiplexer, encoder and decoder. So, they will be able to develop any combinational logic circuit by studying this concept. So, that means by applying this knowledge, they will be able to design any combinational circuit which can be used in real time. Describe the operation of flip-flop and latches for constructing sequential circuit. So, the student will be able to understand what is a flip-flop and what is the use of flip-flop in the construction of sequential circuit. So, with this, they can be able to design any sequential circuit like counter, register, anything. Implement the synchronous and asynchronous counters for memory storing applications. So, by using the flip-flops and latches, they will be able to design even memories and counters in order to registers and counters in order to go for design the memory storing applications. So, those are the COs defined for the analog and digital electronics. And the mapping of each CO with the PO. How the COs are mapped to the PO. So, just now we have seen what the POs are defined as. So, how the POs are mapped to the COs. So, here let us take the first CO. Recall the properties of semiconductor material which form the basis for the formation of PN junction diode. So, as we all know that PO1 is the basic related to the basic knowledge and skills of mathematical principles and science, right? So, we can map as the CO1 is also understand level. It is also recalling the basic concept. So, we can map it to the PO1. And it cannot be mapped to any other POs. And like that, we will be mapping all the COs to the POs here. So, this is a mapping of COs of analog and digital electronics with the POs and PSOs. So, if you take the CO2, that is mapped with PO1, PO2 and CO3 is mapped to PO2. And as we are not using any tool here, so we are not mapping PO5. And even it is not related to the lab, so we are not mapping with the communication related POs and all, that is teamwork and all. So, this is mapped to PO2 again, CO4 is mapped to PO1 and CO5, PO1 and 3. So, like that all the COs are mapped with the pivots with their relevance. That means according to the key attributes of each and every pivot, the CVOs are mapped to the pivots. So these are the pivots that are mapped to the entire course, that is pivot 1, engineering knowledge, pivot 2, problem analysis, pivot 3, design and development of solutions. So the strength of these pivots given are 3 for pivot 1, 3 for pivot 2 and 3 for pivot 3. And how these pivots are assessed? By conducting CAE, quiz and AAT. So all the pivots can be assessed by the CIE, quiz and AATs, alternate assessment tools. And PSO, we have defined 3 PSOs for department. So the PSO 1 is mapped here. So that is the design next generation computer systems, networking devices, search engines, soft computing and intelligent systems, web browsers and knowledge discovery tools standards. This is mapped to the course that is analog and digital electronics, and the strength given is 1, and the proficiency is assessed by seminars. And how the various levels or how the key attributes are mapped, how many attributes are mapped for each and every CO with the PO. So CO1 is mapped to only PO1, and it is mapped with only one key attribute of PO1, and hence the number of competencies given to the CO1 are 1. And similarly, CO2 illustrate the volt ampere characteristics, that is the knowledge level of semiconductor device, to derive the mathematical model for diode current, static and dynamic resistance by applying the principles of mathematical model and science. So as we are mapping this knowledge level, and also we are applying the mathematical principles, so we can give the key attributes or else number of competencies to the CO2 for the PO1 as 2. And similarly, CO2 with PO2, the key competencies can be given as 5. So like that, we can give the key attributes, the total count of key competencies for CO and PSO are given here. So these are the number of competencies for each and every PO given related to the COs here. This is a table which is showing the total number of competencies mapped. Next, this is about the key competencies, and based on this we are going to assess the students' achievement or else outcomes by a direct method. Before that, we will be discussing Bloom's taxonomy. So as I told you that while defining the COs, we have to consider the Bloom's taxonomy. What is Bloom's taxonomy? So Bloom's taxonomy is considered as a global language for education. Bloom's taxonomy is frequently used by the teachers in writing the course outcomes, as it provides a ready-made structure and list of action verbs. It is providing us list of action verbs that can be used by the faculty in order to frame the course outcomes. So the write and revise learning. Why to use Bloom's taxonomy? To write and revise learning objectives, we can go for the Bloom's taxonomy. Plan the curriculum. Identifies simple to most difficult skills. So that is from understand level to the evaluate level. So we can create level, we can have different skills. Effectively align objectives to assessment techniques and standards. Incorporate knowledge to be learned, that is a knowledge dimension, and cognitive process to learn. So facilitate questioning, that is oral language, that is equal to important role within the framework. Bloom's taxonomy is a tool helps you to assess the level of your students are experiencing in your course. So in order to assess various levels of students, we can have various levels of students in our classroom. In order to assess them, Bloom's taxonomy helps us. To consciously and intentionally address the level of cognitive complexity and challenge in a course, we will be going for the Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is an excellent framework providing multiple points of entry. So Bloom and colleagues in 1956 created 3 learning taxonomies, that is cognitive domain, affective domain and psychomotor domain. So these are the different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. So that is, remember first, level 1, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate and create. And some of the words given here, remember means recall the facts and basic concepts. And some of the examples of verbs that can be used under remember level of taxonomy are define, duplicate, list, memorize, repeat and state. Understand, explain ideas or concept, basics based on the basic knowledge they have, they are able to explain ideas or concepts. So the examples of words are classify, describe, discuss, explain, identify, locate, recognize, report, select and translate. Next, apply. After understanding, we can apply the knowledge. Use information in new situations. So we can apply them in order to find the solutions for new problems. So that is, use information in new situations. So these are some examples of verbs that can be used under apply level of taxonomy. Next, analyze. Draw connections among ideas. So after having an idea, so we can provide the implementation. So we need to provide the connections among ideas. So these are the verbs under analyze level, and under evaluate level, these are the verbs that can be used. And under create, we can have these words that can be used under create level. So these are the basic Bloom's taxonomy levels that we can have and we can use while framing the outcomes. So that is about our outcome based education and various course outcomes, course objectives, and how they are mapped to the program outcomes and how they are assessed. So that is all we discussed in this. So that's all for this lecture. Thank you everyone.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.